they think people use wheelchairs as a fashion accessory? I've heard of situations of people not being allowed in restaurants because of how they're dressed, because of their age. But have you ever heard of a situation where someone is not allowed into a public space because the person is in a wheelchair? That was the exact confusion I had on my face when I came across the tweet of Adebola Daniels narrating his experience in KFC at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos. Debola is a frequent passenger who was waiting for his flight to London, and with himself and his wife decided to grab a quick snack at KFC. Now, you should know that from his tweet, it was obvious that it was not his first time at the restaurant. He greeted the security by the name. Obviously, he's stating that he's been there before. He got to the counter only to be told by someone that worked at the restaurant that wheelchairs are not allowed due to their new policies. Wheelchairs are not allowed. No wheelchair. This is what the employee at KFC told him. You know, it's really disheartening to hear stories like Debola Daniels' encounter at KFC. Being denied entry because of you're in a wheelchair. I cannot say it's wrong more than I'm saying it's wrong. I wish there was a better word for wrong. It's absurd. It is disgusting. It is horrific to think that someone would be okay with treating someone else like that. And the claim is management said so. It's like saying that people with disabilities don't deserve access to the same spaces as everybody else. A lot of people online were extremely upset with good reasoning, just as I am. AI said, I told my friend yesterday, you want to know if a country cares about you? Watch how it treats its young, disabled, and elderly. This country builds infrastructure with zero consideration for the disabled, end quote. Let's not forget that in these same airports, not all the elevators in that airport are functional. Nigeria is not accessible enough for disabled. I mean, yes, we've got laws in place to protect the rights of people with disabilities, like the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, but I don't see the laws being enacted as much as they should be. And I believe that we have a lot of work and a lot of rethinking and reframing of our mindsets. The act is supposed to ensure equal treatment and accessibility to everyone, regardless of their abilities. But incidents like this show you that we have a really long way to go when it comes to implementation and enforcement. After Debola's tweet went viral, fans decided that they were going to take action and they ordered the closure of the branch. And it was social media, of course, that allowed this to happen, which is one of the things that I love about social media. They took action immediately. But at the end of the day, I still cannot wrap my head around this idea of no wheelchairs. If you're an employee and your boss tells you an instruction that absolutely makes no sense, unfortunately, because of the power dynamics between employee and employer relationships in Nigeria, there was no room for feedback to say, Oga, this thing no go work, oh. This thing cannot be possible. This thing they illegal. Because number two, based on the tweets and the way Debola Daniels said the employee was reiterating the facts and stating the policy, it's obvious that she's also okay with this policy. It was done with, from his tweets, it seemed like such vigor and enthusiasm and adamancy. Someone online tweeted this and said, I simply cannot wrap my head around no wheelchair allowed. Are people supposed to leave their wheelchair outside and somehow crawl, fly to the counter or order? I honestly cannot think that far. Why do they think people use wheelchairs as a fashion accessory? End quote. You know, the closure is a step in the right direction, but it shouldn't take such a high profile case for this to make happen. Businesses need to understand that they have an obligation under the law and they need to take proactive steps to accommodate people with disabilities. And the crazy thing about this is here, this thing is not just about following rules, it's about basic human decency and respect for a human being. The fact that the individual was denied access to KFC outlets simply because of their disability, it's not just outrageous, but it's disgraceful. Like, it's infuriating to think that despite these laws, people are being treated as second-class citizens. How do we claim to be a progressive and inclusive society when you cannot even access a public space? And the closure of the KFC outlet is a step in the right direction, but we need to hold business accountable. These institutions need to ensure they're providing accessible spaces for individuals who are living with disabilities. Anything less than that, it is violating human rights. It's shameful to our society. I'm so concerned that this happened. It just tells me that at the end of the day, like, even the way we treat each other as Nigerians, it's one kind. Because why would the employee be so eager and ready to say no wheelchairs allowed? We cannot stand by and continue to allow this thing to happen. We need to speak up. Individuals should be able to speak up and say, whether there's a law, whether there's this, whether there's that, as a person, as a fellow human being, I see you and I think that the way you're being treated is a problem. We hold ourselves accountable, we tell ourselves the truth, we behave properly. We ensure that as a collective, we have good conscience towards people. Then there was a whole conversation about, oh, the closure wouldn't have happened if Debola was a citizen without enough visibility. And I think that's such a myopic way to think. Fine, understandably, he's the son of the former governor of Ogun State, but it didn't stop from being discriminated. And if he's choosing to use his platform to speak about this issue, then good. At the end of the day, this is visibility being creating awareness for those who do not have as much of a platform as him and are literally suffering every single day in Nigeria. I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever seen something like this happen? Have you ever been in an environment or been in a work situation where your company has discriminated against someone who's living with a disability? Share your experience, comment down below, let me know. Not one, not two, not three. National grid has collapsed again this year. Click on the next video to find out what's happening.